So just to kind of recap what Kyisha is saying from a survivor's perspective, nobody in domestic violence wants to hear what you would do.
No.
What we do want to hear is listening. Because I recall my sister Crystal, she prayed for me. Actually, she prayed for me about 13 years for me to be saved.
Mm.
And during that process, she walked me through domestic violence. And she never ever once told me what she would do. But what she did was she listened to me. She prayed for me.
Mm-hmm.
And she gave me words of wisdom.
Yep.
Godly wisdom. She saved, sanctified. So she gave me a lot of godly wisdom. And during a time of my silent times, my quiet times, when I would sit back, it would play back the things she told me and her kindness and those things. So we don't know, because we don't know the impact of our words on people and how it's going to affect them. Don't tell nobody what you would do.
Mm-hmm. And then I also want to say, like when you were saying, we always look at it as the physical signs that we can see. And I like to educate a lot of doctors and individuals about the signs that we can't see. And that is the emotional scars. That is the headaches that they may have had from being strangled 10 years ago. And they keep having this reoccurring headache. And that's because a lot of times we look at football players and we know that they have concussions, but we don't look at domestic violence survivors as having those. And a lot of times their heads may have been injured in an incident, and it can cause concussions.
Absolutely.
And later on, those concussions can cause residual effects down the road. Thank you. And so a lot of times we don't look back on that. And so every time you're strangled, if you're strangled, you lose oxygen to your brain. And so some of those brain cells, in fact, die. And that's a lot of times, a lot of victims always say, I couldn't breathe. And next thing I know, it was black. And I remember coming back, and that's because you were strangled and the oxygen actually left. And that can cause headaches years later. So I like to educate individuals on the effects of it.
You know what? When I'm listening to you, I feel so emotional because I remember having a concussion and not knowing it. And I was in college and I just was sleep. I knew my head hurt so bad. And it wasn't until maybe the next semester when I did research on anatomy and physiology that I realized, girl, you had a whole concussion.
Right.
I could have died.
Yeah.
I could have died. And then I think about, they don't talk about, because I was thrown. He threw me a lot. We were just talking about this. Guys, if you ever have seen any of my pictures, or even if you could see me talking now, my jaw is crooked because I was hit so much in my face. And so my jaw is crooked. And it's to the point where even when I find myself, when I eat, I kind of have to readjust it. And these are residual effects from domestic violence. I have PTSD, which is, it causes me difficulty when I'm processing things. And, there is an effect. And I'm still experiencing it years later, and that's why I'm like getting emotional. Like, this is real. Like, we see somebody I remember